right, TCI back live from day 2 of the ACC Spring Meetings. We are here, as you can see, at Amelia Island, Florida. Nice sunny day. Yesterday was a little nasty. I just
A lot better today.
hit the beach a little while ago for a little walk. Got to be, if you're at the beach, you got to.
He's walking, and I'm in there writing stories.
Will's in there talking, acting like he's writing stories. Will, one thing we meant to touch on yesterday, which we forgot because we're getting a little old. We do have some new schools here this year.
That's right.
So it's a little bit different.
Yeah, there's Stanford, California, and SMU. SMU brought a big entourage with them. We saw them when we first came in yesterday, and it's kind of weird seeing SMU at the thing, but then we looked around and there's Stanford, and then we looked around, we saw there's Cal, and I'm like, okay, yeah, this is a little weird. So if it's weird for us, it's got to be weird for them, right? I mean, they're all the way out on the other coast, like you said, the ocean's on the other side.
Mm-hmm. Ocean's over there.
And they're like, they got to feel out of place a little bit, I would imagine. But everybody's been welcoming to them, and we're going to try to get Coach Taylor and maybe get his thoughts on coming to Death Valley. We're going to try to do that. We can't guarantee it, but we're going to try to get that before we get out of here tomorrow, and that'll be pretty cool if we can.
We are scheduled to talk to Tony Elliott later this afternoon. Obviously, he will be playing in Death Valley as well, and we'll get his thoughts on a number of topics. Him and Dabo hanging out together, eating lunch together, just looking like they never left Clemson.
Man, it was pretty cool to see, wasn't it? I mean, and by the way, I don't know if we said it yesterday, Dabo Sweeney's in an electric mood. I mean, by the way, congratulations to Will Sweeney. He's getting married this weekend. And so I think maybe that has something to do with it, but Dabo's in a really good mood. And not that Dabo's never really in a bad mood, but he's even in more of a good mood than normal, right?
So I was supposed to be in a good mood last week with my son getting married last week?
You should have been.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I would have been. But yeah, he's in a great mood, and, and then, just seeing him and Tony, it's sort of like, father and son almost in a way, because, Dabo obviously was Tony's coach at Clemson back in the early 2000s, and, saw Tony grow up to be the guy that he is and become the offensive coordinator, coach at Clemson and all that, and then become obviously the head coach at Virginia now. And, Dabo just looks like a proud dad when he's around Tony. You really see that, and you kind of saw that today.
Another former walk-on. We can't wait to get his reaction to the topic we hit Dabo with last night. We have caught up with a few folks today already. We got a one-on-one with Coach Brownell earlier this afternoon, or this morning, I guess. He filled us in on the latest transfer, Christian Reeves. We talked to him about just how different things are, how Clemson basketball is at a new level in this new landscape of NIL and transfer portal, and how he's adapted. And he had a lot of great stuff to say. We've had a little bit of it up on the site. Will's already written some more. We got a lot more headed your way next day.
Yeah, we got some, a story coming more about Coach Brownell and how he handles the transfer portal compared to others, and then the success he's had with it. I mean, it's amazing when you look at, and you go all the way back, even before the 2018 team, he would bring in guys, but that's really where he really showed how he uses the portal, and he mentioned that, talking about Sheldon Mitchell and those guys, and Marquise Reed, and and how he kind of brought them in. They weren't original recruits. They came in, and he, they progressed through the program and to where they went to the Sweet 16. Kind of this year's team was kind of like that with P.J. Hall in them, but P.J. was a Clemson guy obviously the whole time, and so he done it different ways but similar ways as well. And I think that it was a very interesting story just to hear him talk about that, and then also why it's important to find a guy that fits the Clemson culture, as he talks about. He says that's something that he mentioned as speed dating, which he's like, you got to do it, and it's more like speed dating. You got to do it real fast, but he says they still try to do a lot of homework on these guys to make sure they're coming in and fitting the culture, fitting the Clemson locker room. And he says last year was a good example of, by doing that, doing their homework, they have success, and they bring guys in that are good locker room guys. Because as Brownell loves to say, the success comes from the locker room. You want a locker room driven team, not a coach driven team. If you do that, you generally have a lot of success, and that's been the case, especially a lot during his time at Clemson.
Well, and NIL is a big piece of it now. Coach Brownell is fortunate that he's got the best NIL support of any sport on campus at Clemson. He's got some really nice supporters there, and it's made a big difference in being able to bring in transfers like Gerard and Reeves from Duke, and he's he's having to rebuild the team every year, but like you said, Will, he's trying to look for the right type of people to bring in that are going to be about the team and not about me, which is hard to do in today's transfer portal NIL world.
It is. It's really hard. And, but, there are guys that are still out there, like the Joe Girard that you try to find, They really like Zachary out of Boston College. Think he's a guy that can come in and kind of fill that same kind of need and piece that they had there. And so they really like the Reeves kid. He talked about how, when they brought him in and he came to Clemson and looked at the school, Brownell talked about him being patient with them and letting them, develop him as a player and get him to where he needs to be. So I think because he approaches it in that way, I think that's why he has that success of doing that. Where some coaches they just want that guy who's one and done, and that, but he doesn't want that. He wants a guy to come in that's going to fit the Clemson locker room. It's going to fit the program, going to fit the Clemson culture, and for people who've been to Clemson, understand what we say by that. There's some people that don't understand what Clemson culture is, but Clemson is a small town. It's different, and so if you come from different places, like Girard came from Syracuse, which isn't a very big place either in the grand scheme of things. Now it's bigger than Clemson, of course, but but the university is kind of small and where it is and how it works around the city there, and I think that's the kind of guy he looks for. And I think when you look at Reeves, he went to Duke. Well, yeah, Durham's a big city, but Duke, the campus is not, and that's a small area. And I think you kind of get guys like that who are used to that kind of culture.
Well, and Brownell's doing it as well as anybody in the country. We've got some more coming your way for Dabo. We were able to talk to him yesterday about the 2 transfers that did leave for the portal after the spring. We've got his comments on that. Mm-hmm. We've got a story coming. We've been able to talk. You talked also with the new women's basketball coach. We've got stuff coming on that. We've been able to ask some of these coaches what they heard from the NCAA president. So we've got some of that headed your way. And tomorrow we'll get Commissioner Phillips when this thing all wraps up here at Amelia Island.
That's the one I'm looking forward to the most, what he's going to say tomorrow. Because he's going to be asked questions about Clemson and Florida State. Right. He has to be. I mean, if you're not doing your job, if you're not asked that. Now, what's he going to say? He's probably going to toe the company line.
He's going to be PC.
But you want to see. Maybe he doesn't. Because you got to see if he's going to be PC or not and what comes out. And then then everything going on with the NCAA, where is the ACC fitted into that? With this, we knew coming into the meetings that the ACC, there was a couple schools that weren't totally 100% this new solution that they're having here with the House, and as they're trying to settle that lawsuit. So I want to hear what the answers are there. Has he turned them into where the ACC is ready to vote okay on this? So it's an interesting time. That's why the NCAA president was here yesterday. So.
Right. So we got a ton of stuff headed your way. Stay tuned to the Clemson Insider. We are the only outlet down here bringing you guys what we can from this critical year. And I don't know if we'll be back next year or not. I think we might have one more year. Who knows? But we love coming down here every year and bringing you guys the latest. Any excuse to come to the beach is a great excuse.
Where else would we be?
Where else would we be?
I mean, what could we be next
We will
year?
be back in time to cover Clemson baseball series with Boston College. Don't you worry about that. So stay tuned to the Clemson Insider for the most complete coverage of Clemson athletics.